What's going on, everyone? Today, 65% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today. And boy, do we have some crazy news to cover as Japan's bond market is silently imploding, which, as we know from August of 2024, we all know the last time Japan had some freakout problems, it was not a good sign for US markets, as we can see on the chart right now. On top of that, we also have some pretty interesting news with D-Wave Quantum today as they release their most advanced quantum computer yet, and their stock is making a lot of people a lot of money right now. We even have some news from Elon related to his CEO position and the Robotaxis with Tesla, among a handful of other things. So make sure to stick with us all the way until the end. We have a lot to cover today, and you won't want to miss it.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. And the overall market was pretty wild today. I will say it was a pretty bad move to the downside. The overall market kind of gapped down this morning and never really was able to break above its pre-market high, close to 594 here. So it was a pretty rough day. And then, of course, around the end of the day, we had this pretty big sell-off to around 590 before ultimately recovering back a little bit. And Mike, I think that there's starting to become a little bit of fear creeping back into the markets. You know, we are getting pretty overextended. If we zoom out on the SPY a little bit, we are seeing some overextension in the short term. I know that we had that nice gap up a couple weeks ago, and we've been continuing to have some great movement off of that. But today was pretty shaky, and you know, we did see some I would say safe haven stocks or safe haven assets like gold start to rise up quite a bit, as well as a multitude of other things. And I know that this Japanese situation is starting to take a toll, I think.
Exactly. So when we look at U.S. markets right now, everything is trading like everything is all sunshine and rainbows. We're still super close to all-time highs, and the bulls are still running the show. But it would be stupid not to also look at the risks that are currently existing right now. And the main risk comes down to Japan. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Japan has been known for their safety and low interest rates, and now all of that is starting to silently implode. It's like a giant pressure cooker right now that is on the verge of exploding, where their interest rates are soaring to the highest level that they have ever been at in history. And for those of you who don't trade bonds, when rates are going up, that means people are selling out of them, because that's how just interest rates work. This is especially bad for us because Japan is actually the largest owner of U.S. treasuries. They own $1.1 trillion of them. And where things start to get scary is where their finance minister basically said that selling their U.S. bonds is certainly a card on the table. And if they did that, that would push our rates up and certainly cause a bit of a disaster. As we look at this Japan situation right now, they are not in the best position. They have a 263% debt to GDP ratio, and their GDP actually fell by 0.2% in the first quarter of 2025, and their prime minister even called their situation worse than Greece. So, you know, we'll see what happens here, but this is something that we wanted to bring to everyone's attention because it is a real risk, and just like we saw back in August of 2024, when there was that slightest freak out with the Japan carry trade, the market had one of its quickest drops ever, and the VIX actually had its third largest increase ever. So, you know, even though it's happening in Japan, it also affects us.
It definitely does. You know, going back and zooming in a little bit more in August of 2024 here, we can see that there was that pretty bad gap down coming in there like August 1st, and we did have that bottom there on August 5th. It ultimately ended up being a pretty good dip buying opportunity, if we're being honest here. The market started to recover up off of that dip quite a bit, got back up around 20% to its all-time high recently, but overall, that was a pretty crazy situation. I remember that Japanese carry trade definitely impacted the U.S. markets quite a bit, and one thing that really worries me about this, Mike, is if they do end up having to, let's say, sell out of their U.S. bonds, and we start to see U.S. yields start to go up even more from where they are, things will get pretty scary. The U.S. 30Y, or the 30-year bond yield, ended up hitting 5% this week. That was a pretty big thing to see just yesterday. So if we do continue to see, let's say, pressure and breakouts on the U.S. 30Y, that will put a lot of pressure on the economy. And of course, interest rates like mortgages, car loans, etc., will probably be going up as we see the US 30Y and, of course, the other yields start to pop up as well. So I think that's definitely a big concern that investors have here. And it's coming at a time that's pretty rough. Like, I know Trump was really running on like the premise of getting interest rates lower.
Yeah, so we will see. I don't think this situation is going to, be extremely applicable for tomorrow, but it will certainly be applicable as the weeks and months go on. And it would be a shame if, someone didn't know this information ahead of time. So just be aware of this. And Tom, let's look more at GLD. This is doing very well. For those of you who don't know, GLD follows gold prices. When people are scared and uncertain and they want safety, and certainly a lot of people do right now, a lot of times they go into safe haven assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and others. Gold is very close to all-time highs, Tom. What are you seeing on the charts here?
Yeah, it looks great. It's actually been dipping a lot recently, which was awesome. That all-time high recently posted very close up there to around 316 to 317. You can see it kind of double topped up here at the top. Now we're starting to get this very nice recovery coming back in here to the upside. And as GLD does rise, there is some resistance coming up. I see around 306. I also see 310 as a possible resistance. But gold, in my opinion, can be really good for swing trading. Of course, today it was really good intraday. And if we continue to see a lot of fear creep in, we could see some good opportunities here to the upside. And even keep your eyes on gold miners like GDX, a gold mining ETF, was up 3.11% today. NEM, an individual miner, ended up popping up pretty well, also just under 3%.
Awesome. Yeah, those are great moves, especially for one day, especially for companies like these ones. And you could also see that intraday price action was phenomenal. So definitely keep GDX, NEM, GLD, and a handful of other gold-related names close on watch, as there's a good amount of money flowing into them. So very interesting there. But Tom, there was no stock that really led the way today like QBTS. So they had some pretty exciting news with their newest quantum computer. What is going on here?
Yeah, it's awesome price action. Their stock closed up over 25%, which was great. This is a pretty wild stock. We can see using the StockedUp algo in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Over the past year, this stock has had an average percent rise of 8.9%. So to say that it's volatile is almost an understatement. It is extremely volatile here in the short term. But yeah, they released some new quantum computing systems, which was fantastic to hear. They're calling it the Advantage 2. They're saying it's their 6th iteration and most advanced systems. So I'm glad to hear that. At the end of the day, I think it's very interesting to see that these quantum stocks are continuing to come out with really good technology and just good announcements at the end of the day. And it's helping to fuel some of these rallies here. QBTS has kind of been down in the dumps for the most part. If we go to the daily chart, they had been actually down quite a bit here right at the beginning of May. I mean, they were trading for $7 a share. Recently, they've popped up 150% over the past couple weeks since the beginning of May. So there's definitely been a lot of buying and a lot of good pressure on this stock to the upside. But overall, whenever a company like that deals with quantum computing announces new technology, it can definitely get the stock moving. So keep it on the radar. And one good thing is that this is actually new all-time highs on this stock as well.
Yeah, that is a beautiful move. And while quantum is realistically some years away, it is nice to see like real developments like this. And it definitely does bring in a lot of optimism. Looking at this stock in the short term, it's up over 25% on the day. In a broader sense, it might be a little bit overextended. What is like the realistic way to play this?
Yeah, looking at it right now, there's actually a couple ways that we can look at this tomorrow. And of course, I really don't like front running things. I'm definitely somebody that likes to see a good move, maybe some confirmation, and then adapt into the overall direction here. There's a pretty clear high of day up around 1750 to 1760. I think best case scenario for QBTS tomorrow, we start to see some really good price action and some great breakouts up above this 1760 range. I do think that if we get a break of 1760, traders will start to target $20. That will be a huge psychological level, especially since we're at all-time highs and there's not really anything overly established overhead. $20 will probably be in play if we get some action. I do like this area right around 1630 for support. There was like 3 really good touches here and a nice double bottom here today intraday. So if that breaks down, there could even be a downside opportunity trying to play this down to the next support of $15, and that's also a pretty big level coming up. So there's a couple different ways here to look at QBTS for tomorrow. Like I said, though, I definitely do lean towards that upside breakout.
The trend is definitely favoring the bulls, but as you said, it's a crazy volatile stock. And if we look at how it moved in the past, we can see like on a daily chart, when it has had massive moves to the upside, it is somewhat common to see like some like giant red days sprinkled in the mix. And I think that is something that everyone should be aware of, because this is also a potential opportunity. Like, no one knows if this stock is going to rise tomorrow, but we do have a high degree of confidence that it is going to move strongly. So if you approach it in an adaptable way and you're just trying to catch a big move, that is where like most of the opportunity comes into play. So either way, keep it close on watch.
It's extremely volatile, and there was another stock that had a lot of volatility today, and that is Tesla. Tesla's stock was all over the place, Mike. Here, right before the market opened, we saw a huge run to the upside with Tesla that was pretty nice, and then as the market opened and things started to play out a little bit, we saw their stock turn right over. It actually bounced off 342, 343 support, tested the high of day, and then came right back down. This was the definition of a roller coaster today. It only closed up 0.51%, and Elon was actually speaking at an event at a Qatar Economic Forum, so that was pretty big, and he ended up saying that he was committing to Tesla for the next 5 years. I thought that was great to hear. There was a lot of talk about, Tesla in general, and Elon, of course, being the CEO. It's very good to see his commitment here. I know he's been working a lot with Doge and everything like that with Trump ever since Trump had been elected, and it's good to see him kind of coming back here. And he also talked a lot about Tesla turning things around a lot in the short term, which was great, and I thought that was awesome for Tesla's stock. Initially, Tesla had that great rip to the upside, but as we can see, the overall bullishness didn't really materialize as the day went on.
Yeah, and there was also some other interesting news related to the Tesla Robotaxis, specifically in Austin, Texas. As a lot of us know, since 2016, Elon has been promising everyone that Robotaxis are coming next year, and it seems like they're finally, maybe, hopefully coming in June. He said that they should have around 10 vehicles in action in Austin, at least at the end of June. And some other information that is worth keeping in mind is that he said that it will scale up rapidly, assuming that the tests go well. So we will see what happens there, but this is just something to pay attention to, as investors have been waiting for this to finally happen for many, many years now. And if it goes very well, it could be a great sign for Tesla. But if there are problems, which is certainly possible, it can be really bad as well. So this is something just to be conscious of and pay attention to as these next few weeks happen.
Yeah, and I think that as we start to see Tesla like uptrend here in the short term, I do think that this robotaxi news and it being successful in Austin will be a big thing for Tesla. Of course, if this ends up being negative, and I could see things getting pretty negative with it. If there's 10 robo-taxis, I don't know. I could even see like protesters trying to mess with the robo-taxis or something. Honestly, I mean, you never know. But either way, I think it will be huge for Tesla stock to finally get this done and for them to get this rolling out. Like you said, it's been a long time. And generally, Tesla takes a long time to finally get things going. Just look at their truck. They promised that by a certain year. It ended up taking multiple years later to finally start truly seeing a lot of them on the road. But I will say I am happy with Tesla stock. It's recovering up really well from its recent lows. The one thing I am worried about, though, is it is getting close to some pretty big resistance around $380 to $400, and that will be on watch over the next few weeks. These are a couple of huge levels here. If we can get some meaningful movement past 350, where it kind of peaked out today.
All right, sounds good. So let's keep a close eye on Tesla as well. But believe it or not, we actually had some very exciting movement from an American glasses company, Warby Parker, ticker symbol WRBY. Tom, this stock is up 15% today. What is going on here?
This is pretty insane. So Warby is a American like eyeglass manufacturer, and they are actually working with Google right now to make some smart glasses. So they're partnering together. Google committed $150 million to this agreement. $75 million will initially be put in for product development costs, and will invest in an additional $75 million if Warby meets certain collaboration milestones. So a lot of money here being thrown at them by Google. Looks like they definitely want to get some glasses going, and this will allow Google to also compete with Meta, which is trying to make some smart glasses. I know that's one of Zuckerberg's big focuses over the next few years, is getting those smart glasses going. So it sounds very interesting, but WRBY is a stock that many people probably haven't heard of. There was a big money trade on this one in the past, but it's generally a stock that doesn't have like the most popularity out there, and it moved at 15% today, and it's only a $20 stock as well. I will say, though, it did bounce right off of $22 resistance.
Yeah, so in the short term, it had a great move. It has some heavy resistance overhead, but if we zoom out maybe to like a weekly chart or so, we could see in a broader sense, it is still at some pretty depressed levels. And considering that they do have this collaboration with Google, if everything does end up going well, this can be something that, turns their broader trend around more towards the bull side. So either way, keep it close on watch, but it's definitely a great way to kick off the partnership.
100%. And it's just like one of those stocks that it's like, hey, okay, it's not your most popular stock like Nvidia, and sometimes that's a good thing. You can see a lot of volatility come in, and for the next couple of days, I'll definitely be watching. It was very interesting today. I mean, they halted for like a whole hour before finally unhalting with that news pending, and ended up really ripping there. So it definitely has to be on watch here in the short term. And Mike, I know, like, switching back over into, like, let's say the economic calendar and the earnings side of things, for earnings tomorrow, we do have some pretty big stocks reporting. Target will be reporting in pre-market. I cannot wait to see what they say about the economy and how people are spending money right now. And then in after hours, we have Snowflake and Zoom. Tomorrow's my favorite earnings day of the week, actually.
I'm there with you, and I will say Zoom is definitely close on watch. While I'm not expecting anything like mind-blowing out of them tomorrow, it is a stock I do like for the longer term at these levels, so it will be interesting to see how they do. Shifting over into the economic schedule, it's basically a ghost town tomorrow, so that's good. There aren't any crazy events to worry about. But for Thursday, we do have existing home sales data set to release 30 minutes after open, which will be nice, but honestly, this isn't even like all that crazy.
Yeah, it's really not. I don't really expect that much movement coming on Thursday, 30 minutes after open, from this news specifically. And like, let's just say on Wednesday or Thursday, we start to get some news, let's say from Trump or something like that with some trade deals. I think that could definitely start to spark things up a lot more. I will say overall this week, Mike, I've been pretty surprised that we haven't seen too many crazy like Trump related moves quite yet. I know like Elon was talking a lot today. We've seen a lot of key speakers, but I'm definitely still keeping my eyes on the radar for potential Trump news. Just keep your eyes out for that as always.
All right, well, Tom, as we look at SPY, what are the key levels? Let's say we do see some big Trump news tomorrow. What levels should we keep on watch?
This morning, the SPY really gapped down, which was pretty insane. And once it gapped down, it failed to break back out above 594, actually testing this a couple of times today before ultimately selling off and breaking under intraday support around 592. For tomorrow specifically, the SPY got to around 590 today at the end of the day. I've had a lot of support recently at 589. If we zoom out, you can see that 589 has actually had quite a few hits and touches on it over the past few trading days. So if we end up getting under that low of day today and under 589, I will become a bit more bearish in the short term and target 586 to the downside. I think that the best case scenario for tomorrow is that the market continues to bounce up off of that support, and that we actually start to fill that gap from this morning and re-break above 594. If we can get that done, I think that the high of day from last night at 596 will definitely be a good area to break out. If we break 596, though, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking for a $600 push, and I think that that will be a major resistance for SPY over the next couple days.
It's an exciting time to be a trader. Awesome. So we'll definitely keep that close on watch. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock that is definitely close on watch is SLV, and it is to the upside. SLV follows silver prices, and it did very well today. And while I wouldn't be surprised if this stock rose tomorrow, this setup is more so of a setup for like the next few weeks or so. I love today's price action, and I do think that we are going to continue to see more and more money flow into safe haven assets, as a bunch of money has been flowing into safe haven assets for months now, as we can see just by looking at gold prices and how well Bitcoin is holding up. SLV has kind of been lagging behind. It has still been doing good, it really just hasn't been like truly breaking out, and I think it's starting to get some more momentum here, and it's definitely on my bullish radar. But again, this is more so a trade for like the next few weeks to maybe even next few months.
I really like it on this dip here. We're starting to see some of these metals come up very well off of their recent dips, and SLV has to be on watch, in my opinion, one of the more influential metals out there, and definitely get some pretty good action in the short term as well. With my first setup, I'm looking at NVIDIA. Again, I looked at this one yesterday, and I'm still watching it today, or for tomorrow, I should say. I really like this resistance overhead around 136 to 137. As we looked at yesterday, there are a lot of sellers stacked up at $140. This is a huge level. There's 1.8 million shares there, and I was almost going to discount NVIDIA today, but that end of day move back to the upside was pretty awesome. I thought that was great to see, and it was definitely a lot better than, let's say, closing down around the low of day or under like 134, in my opinion. So if we can continue to hold this level and even break this level at the high of day today around 135, then I will be watching NVIDIA back to the upside. Again, looking at the Bookmap, there is those sellers at 140, so that would be a big target to the upside. And if we do see a dip, 130 is going to be the next major support where we do have some buyers stacked up. So in the event that there is a dip, watch 130 for a possible support bounce.
Sounds good. Another ticker that is definitely close on watch is HIMS, and a lot of people probably aren't going to want to hear this, but to the downside, this stock pulled back a little bit today as it fell by around 2%. It has been crushing it over the past few weeks, but I don't like how it's making lower highs in a broader sense, and in the short term, it definitely has been losing a little bit of its momentum. If we see the stock break below that $60 area, and then it breaks below that like secondary support right around $59.60, that will be a pretty rough sign for this one. So I'm not like automatically bearish on HIMS going into tomorrow. I do want to see more of a confirmation, especially through that $60 level. And assuming that breaks and it puts meaningful pressure on its lows, I definitely will like the reward to risk playing it to the downside. As we know, this stock has great momentum driven moves, and we are seeing a little bit of weakness coming into play here.
That is a major support. If we end up breaking that down, I'll be watching HIMS to the downside as well. With my next setup, I'm looking at LHX to the upside. This stock actually had some good news here right around the end of the day today, where Senator Banks said that L3 Harris will be working on the Golden Dome, and Trump said this could be like a $20 billion Golden Dome deal. So I think at the end of the day, LHX is benefiting very well from this. As we can see in after hours, they popped up to around $240. I'm just going to look for a good continuation play tomorrow off of this momentum. As we can see, LHX has actually been dipping a lot over the past few months, and as of recently, they're starting to break above some key resistance. And as we know, whenever some of these stocks start to break resistance and they get into those modes of running, they can start to trend for like weeks to months at a time. And I think that LHX breaking recently is a great sign to see, and overall, I could see the momentum continuing, especially with the catalyst like this.
Awesome. So definitely keep this one close on watch. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Pfizer PFE to the upside.
Yeah, Pfizer can break above 2370. Keep watching them up just at their high of day.
All right, with the next one, we have Affirm AFRM to the downside.
Yeah, poor Affirm could not share in the love today. If they break under 49.50, then keep watching them down.
And then with the last one, we have B2 Gold, BTG to the upside.
BTG was awesome, up over 5%. If they break out above $3.25, keep watching them up as well.
Sounds good. So we have these 3 stocks on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow, if and only if they break through the levels listed. As always, have stop losses to protect yourself. Trade in a smart, long-term oriented way. You know, don't just blindly jump into these plays. Of course, have a thesis, have stop losses, and trade smart. But besides that, Tom, how about we jump right into today's $1 million big money trade with ticker symbol HOG. So this is Harley Davidson, and the trader here bought the 26 strike call options that expire in about a month on June 20th of 2025. These call options are right at the money. They have not a ton of time to them, so the trader is expecting like a fair move somewhat soon. $1 million went into this trade. The stock has been selling off a fair amount over the past few years, and it is in the process of recovering. Looking at the setup here, it's definitely gaining some strength, but it also still has a lot more momentum to build if the trader does want to see this one end up popping.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome trade. $26 strike. It's like right around the money. There's $1 million in this one. Hog definitely has a lot of momentum. I thought it's kind of crazy that they would enter today, right after this pop. And of course, it's pretty close to some pretty big resistance as well. I am watching some of these resistances coming up more closely around like 28. Of course, over the next couple days, if it could touch 28, that would probably be pretty awesome here for the big money trader. It's a very short-term play, though. It expires in a month, and I would definitely think that they are expecting, let's say, a better short-term move to the upside here. And in the ultra short term, I mean, that momentum at open the past couple trading days has been great, and tomorrow at open, I'm definitely going to have this stock on watch, that's for sure.
There we go. So either way, keep a close eye on HOG going forward. But if you're new to the channel, welcome, and consider obliterating that subscribe button so you can get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day we cover big money trades just like this one, important earnings, information, and general stock news. And we basically cover everything you need to know in around 20 to 25 minutes or less. Sometimes we go over if there's a lot to cover, but definitely consider smashing that subscribe button to hear from us more often. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, John Bubba in the StockedUp Discord, who had some nice profits today with Rivian, and he was selling some put options. So huge shout out to you with these short put trades, and keep up the great work going forward. We can see we have some Rivian action in there, as well as some QBTS action. So keep on rolling, and it is great to see posts like this one. Besides that, guys, we have a very exciting rest of the week ahead of us. Of course, the economic schedule is a little bit slow, but we do have a lot of very big and very important things developing behind the scenes, especially with everything like we said with Japan, and even some of these individual stocks like QBTS. So it should be a nice end to the week, or rest of the week, I should say. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.